ahead and use a screwdriver or a small pry bar. Go ahead and pop that center cap. Using a 19mm socket, go ahead and remove the lug nuts. Go ahead and remove the wheel. Set that aside. Using a 16mm socket on the bolt head and a 15mm on the nut side, go ahead and remove the lower ball joint pinch bolt nut. Using a pry bar, go ahead and loosen the ball joint from the knuckle itself. Once you have your vehicle raised and supported on jack stands, go ahead and use a jack on the rotor itself. You're going to go ahead and raise up this corner of the suspension. Raising this will allow us to pull that lower ball joint out of that knuckle a little easier. Now we can go ahead and raise this up. Try and pop that control arm out. Using a 15mm socket and ratchet, we're going to go ahead, loosen, and remove this forward control arm bolt. Now, pulling this out, your lower control arm may shift a little bit. Using a 21mm socket and ratchet on this lower bolt, I'm going to go ahead and loosen this one. Now we have all 3 points loose. Our lower ball joint over here is disconnected. We have to pry this out from the body, and then the other side or the forward mount of the control arm will pull out. Now when you do this, the front suspension may kick out a little bit, so be careful of the movement. And be careful of the control arm dropping out. Going to go ahead and use a hammer and hit the control arm to pull the ball joint out. Now on the back side of the knuckle, right where the pinch bolt is, there's a little crevice right here. And we're going to use a pry bar just to try and open this up a little bit, and this is going to allow for that ball joint to pop out. So we're just going to tap the pry bar in there a little bit. Watch your feet. With our front suspension held up by our jack, we're going to go ahead and put in our rearward mounted bolt. Line that up and get a few threads started. I'll go ahead and swing this down and pivot this around. With the rear mount installed, now you have the ability to go ahead and move that suspension, get your ball joint lined up. Pop that up and in like that. Once we get that rearward mount installed on the control arm, our jack then came loose, so we're just going to go ahead and slide that out of the way. Next we're going to use a pry bar to get up underneath, just to try and manipulate this up and in. Pull our pry bar out. Now take our bolt and go ahead and work this a little bit. Might need our mallet. We're unable to manipulate that with the mallet, so we're going to go ahead and use our small pry bar. Get that up underneath. Work that in. Now we can go ahead and get our bolt lined up. Before we torque the inward mounting bolts for the control arm, you want to use your jack, put it under the ball joint area of the control arm, raise the vehicle to its natural ride height. We're not lifting the vehicle off of your jack stands, but we want to get it to the point where our suspension is in its riding position. Once this has been achieved, we can then go ahead and torque the bolts on the inward mounted control arm area. Torque the forward mounted bolt to 85 foot-pounds. Torque our rearward mounted bolt to 129 foot-pounds. Go ahead and take your lower pinch bolt, slide that in, install the nut on the back side. And then go ahead and snug that down. Go ahead and torque down the pinch bolt to 52 foot-pounds. Go ahead and install your wheel assembly. Get the lug nuts started. Once these are all on, go ahead and snug them down. Go ahead and torque the lug nuts down to 98 foot-pounds. Now if you have a center cap, you want to pay attention to the plastic spots here. Those are going to pop right onto your lug nuts there, so line those up. Give it a quick little bonk. There you go.